All right. So in regard to this issue, I mean, all due respect to whatever existing policy there was vetting these books, it clearly hasn't worked. Since I guess we live in a world now that our public schools would rather have kids read about gay pornography than Christ. I feel like so far the vetting system has clearly failed. All due respect, Dr. Baker, with your leadership program, with your leadership abilities, seeing that what's happening in Loudoun County and all the surrounding counties, you should have taken the initiative to see, okay, let's see what's going on in the libraries of our schools. Let us not wait for a parent to come up here and tell us what's going on in our library. So I believe that, I mean, clearly the vetting hasn't worked, right? I just have some questions. Who, in the right mindset, to be quite frankly, approves these books to be put in our schools? I'd like to go question after question, please. So who approves these books?
Mr. Boozmal, first I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, and as was mentioned earlier, we want an opportunity to take a look at what those consistent practices are. I don't want to make this a whole county issue. When the concern was brought to our attention, we immediately got with our library liaison and started talking to our librarians. We're looking at policy, and we're having conversations to see what those consistent aligned practices look like across our division.
All due respect, I trust you guys' judgment, but this vetting system has clearly failed, so I feel like we should go forward with the audit on the libraries. I mean, honest, Dr. Baker, how can you, like, you saw this coming from Northern Virginia. Did it not occur to you, let me check what books are in the libraries in our schools? How far did it have to get? What if the parent didn't come out tonight and didn't tell us about those books? Are we all going to go to sleep as happy campers with books about gay sex and pedophilia in our schools? Who would have brought it up? How far would have it taken to get brought up?
And Mr. Boozmal, please know that the moment this was brought to our attention, we are acting on it.
Why did it have to be brought to your attention? Why can you guys figure this out on yourself? Why did you not know what's in your schools?
Yeah, Mr. Boozmal, in a minute, whenever the opportunity comes, I'll speak. But
you have the opportunity.
But I don't want to interrupt.
You interrupted Ms. Phelps earlier. It's okay. Go ahead. I'm giving you the opportunity. Explain. Give me an answer.
Mr. Boozmal.
But I really don't want to interrupt you.
I mean, I'm just so sick. I'm just so sick of our administration acting like they have to make sure they're all polished up, but behind the scenes, it's nothing but corruption, the old boy system, and I'm just sick of it.
Dr. Baker.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Boozmal, I wanted to try to respond to your initial point. I'll do my best. What you just shared, obviously, I think has us all trying to, I don't understand that. The gross generalization that you just made of the entire staff and me, but you can certainly keep it of me.
Don't put words in my mouth, Dr. Baker.
No, I just mean suggesting that we are trying to cover anything up or not address this. We are trying to address this, and I wanted to address your point about seeing something in the future. And as I said earlier, I'll accept responsibility for that. But I will let you know that in terms of processes like that, I will take responsibility for not having, as I should. But I would not have thought to do an audit because I have had great faith and trust in the folks that have been our librarians, having seen how they had really helped to move our libraries forward. And obviously, there are times where we're going to believe and trust in the judgment of the people that work for us and that are making those decisions. If we find that that judgment is not either being exercised or something's being missed in a process, then we do exercise that process. In terms of looking at what other school divisions do and beginning to compare them, I'll also try not to take it being attacked as a fellow Christian, but I really do believe that we are here for all kids, every single kid, no matter where they come from, no matter what their background or religion is. And so there was no ill intent here. And we still don't have all the information. If it means we need to go through a full-blown audit to ensure that there is nothing inappropriate for students, then that's exactly what we'll do.
This is not an issue that we can drag our feet and say, let's trust administration again. This is not it, Mr. Brazel. This is not it.
Mr. Boozman, again, I understand your urgency in the matter, and I also believe that in order to be effective, sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. And we're only asking a week. We have a meeting in a week, and that should give us plenty of time to hear from the principals that were involved in the matter that was brought up. And then at that point, when we hear from them what occurred from their perspective, we can actually build better filters to make sure that this problem does not occur again. I'm not trying to drag my feet. I don't believe that kind of literature in the school is appropriate, but I do want to solve the problem in a way that fully addresses what both sides of the issue.
I get that, and I wholeheartedly respect that, Mr. Braswell, but and I'm not questioning anybody's faith in how Christian they are, but as a Christian who's super involved in youth ministry, right, I'm not even okay for these books staying in those libraries overnight. Like, if we can get a team to go clean the books out tonight, I'll do it. So I get it a week, but I don't want them in our schools for another night. So the sooner we can jump on this and get these books out, the better. I mean, let's go back. You just can't tell me, Dr. Baker, none of your principals or none of your librarians knew what they had in their libraries. Nothing you can say would make me believe that those librarians didn't know what they had in their libraries referred to pedophilia. But we live in a time where that is more okay than anything else nowadays. So we can probably let it slip away. Nobody's going to pay attention. And then now parents are paying attention. Oh, okay, parents caught on in the books in the library. Give us time to clean up our act. Although we should have cleaned it up before the parents caught on to it. This is no time to play catch up on where we fell short. We have to admit that we fell short with this vetting these books, with whatever crap policies we had to vet these books and trusted people to put them in our libraries. Those failed us, and we have to take responsibility and know that the only next action to this issue is an audit on the libraries countywide. I don't even think we should be having conversations with anything else.
I personally want all books kept. I want to look at every book that you guys, a copy of every book that is pulled out of circulation. So if I find out any are not, or thrown away or slipped by, I'm going to be perturbed about that. I don't expect that to happen. Just cooperate with me. I'm sure I've got other colleagues here. I'm sure we've got hundreds of people out there that would like to see those books before we burn them. But just so we can identify within our community that we are eradicating this bad stuff. Okay, and then again, don't give me this stuff that you need an intensive, long time to investigate. You get your librarians, you get that director, if he's still out there, of high schools on this assignment, and you get us information in a week, and you have that presentable in January's meeting. I urge you to do that. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you that. I guess Dr. Baker has to tell you that, so I guess I'm speaking to our Madam Chair and Dr. Baker. Madam Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, can I go now? Substitute motion to direct Dr. Baker to start the removal of the sexually explicit books. Was that the terminology you just used? From our library starting tomorrow, and to give us a report by next week to include how many books have been removed so far.
I'll second that motion. Ms. Phelps, I think that's a great motion because that week, instead of waiting to get another report, I feel like it would be good to receive a report on how many books. We're not asking for all the books to be removed because knowing the world we live in today, is probably plenty of books with sexually explicit material in our schools. But I feel like it's a good start. So by next week, we'll have a productive meeting to know how many books were removed thus far and to see how much more we have to go. And I think that's a great start, Ms. Phelps, and I appreciate your motion.
I have a short comment to everything. It's not just sexual explicit stuff. There are some bad, evil-related material that we have to be careful of and look at. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I agree with that. I think there's not only material that is sexually explicit, there's material that's racially insensitive as well. So I agree with that, and that's why I believe that we need to have criteria to determine that, or more fine-tuned criteria so that we can evaluate that. But I think Ms. Phelps brings a good motion that we start at least the process of removing some of the books while we are gathering the information. And then we'll find out further, so we hear both sides of the story, and then we can make a final determination, or not a final determination, but a more finite determination of the screening criteria that's going to be used to make sure that we rid our library of any offensive or offensive material, whether it be sexual in nature or any other forms of offensive material.
So let's call to vote since it's 12 a.m.
I have a question, though.
Yes,
Before we
Dr.
call the
Daniels,
vote.
and
Thank you for that motion, Lisa. Mr. Bransford, you said racially insensitive. Are we adding that right now, or are we just going to
No.
think about that later?
No, I think that criteria needs to be refined when we get the final report. What was the concern was the parent coming forward and making mention that her child was exposed to that kind of material that we already know exists. But I think in the future, we not only need to deal with those concerns, but we have to deal with some other concerns that are, that are racially insensitive. I remember as a kid reading Mark Twain, and and some of the innuendo that was in there was abhorrent. But we'll deal with that matter later. What we need to do is deal with what's the pressing issue that came before us tonight.